Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Hi, beautiful. I'm just so excited to be here with you. As you know, I'm a therapist, coach, and authentic relationship expert, and today we're going to talk about something that's hard to navigate but so important if you're on your healing journey, especially after living in a toxic or confusing relationship or just overall in general. Like, what do you do when you meet someone new and you're interested but your heart says not yet? And how do you honor your own pace without ghosting or without feeling guilty for not being all in? So this episode is called How to Move Slowly Without Leading Someone On. And we're going to talk about timing, clarity, nervous system safety, and how to just communicate when we're still trying to figure it out. And a lot of you guys message me about this or just kind of making those comments. And I definitely read your comments over my TikToks and Instagram, because I've honestly did this also with this confusing space in my own dating life previously before I was not in a relationship. But how do you just honor your need to move slowly without feeling like you're stringing someone along or being unfair? So, because here's what I want you to know about you. You've done the work. You've learned to value your peace over chaos. You understand that real connection takes time to build. But now you're in a space where you're second guessing your own wisdom because someone else's timeline doesn't match yours. And I need you to know, before we go any further, that your pace isn't a character flaw. It's not you being difficult or high maintenance. Your pace is sacred. It's your nervous system's way of saying, let me make sure this is safe before I give my heart away. And anyone with your time will not only respect that, they'll appreciate it. So I know this can feel like just a lot for some, and you might be thinking things like this, right? I like this person, but I'm not sure I'm ready. I don't want to lead them on, but I'm also not ready to walk away. Am I just scared, or is my body actually saying slow down? This is the gray space, not the clear no and not the enthusiastic yes, just the I need more time. And I want to say this first. You're not doing anything wrong by needing time. Just want to give that reminder again. Moving slowly is not the same thing as playing games. And you're allowed to be kind without being performative. You can be honest with having it all figured out. So let me take you back to a time where just when I almost lost myself trying to match someone else's timeline, because I think you'll see yourself in this story. And we'll just call him Marcus. And y'all, he was everything that looked good on paper. Successful, attentive, consistent in his communication, at least in the beginning. From our first date, he was talking about how much he liked me, how he could see something real developing between us, how he wanted to see me multiple times a week. And part of me was flattered, especially after dealing with people who were hot and cold, who were just very unhealthy. And after dealing with men who just couldn't even text back consistently, here was someone who was clear about his interest. But something in my body was saying, this feels like a lot, this feels rushed. I remember lying in bed after our third date, and he was already talking about just meeting his friends and planning a weekend trip together. My stomach was in knots, but not the good kind. The kind that whispers, something's moving too fast here. But instead of listening to that wisdom, you know what I did? I started having those internal conversations, and I know some of you have too. Girl, this is what you said you wanted. Someone who's available and interested. Don't mess this up by being complicated. Don't be that woman who overthinks everything. So I did what a lot of us do. I ignored my instincts. I said yes, right? I said yes to what he was offering, to seeing him multiple times a week. It just felt like enough at the time. I let conversations get deeper than I was ready for because he was sharing. So I felt obligated to match his vulnerability. I started rearranging my life, my self-care routines, my time with friends to accommodate his desire to see me constantly. And here's what happened. Just 6 weeks in, right? I realized I didn't actually know him. I'd been so busy keeping up with his pace, so worried about seeming disinterested that I never created space to actually observe who he was when he wasn't trying to impress me. And this woman got caught up in that relationship. When I finally started pulling back to get some breathing room, he accused me of leading him on. He said, "You seem so into this and now you're acting distant. What changed?" And that's when it hit me. I wasn't leading him on. I was just trying to be honest about what I needed. But I'd been so focused on managing his expectations that I abandoned my own. Just my own process, my own timing. And that experience taught me the difference between leading someone on and honoring your pace. Leading someone on is giving false hope when you know you're not interested. Honoring your pace, though, is being truthful about how you build connection and trusting that the right person will appreciate your intentionality. So now I want to talk about something that's particularly heavy for many of us, especially my Black and brown women listening, because the pressure to be easy and grateful doesn't exist in a vacuum. Okay, we've been socialized to believe that if a man shows interest, especially a good man, we should be thankful and available, that having standards or wanting to take our time makes us picky or difficult. And for women of color, this gets layered with even more complexity. You might hear things like, whether good Black so-and-so are rare, good Black men are rare. Don't let this one slip away because you're overthinking. Or you're already seen as strong and independent. Don't make it worse by having too many requirements. But let me also tell you that it took me years to understand your caution isn't paranoia. It's wisdom earned through experience. Your desire to move slowly isn't fear, it's intelligence. You've learned that not everyone who's interested in you is interested in the real you. And I really had to take time to think about that, because you have to really just discern on who is interested in you being you and who's just interested in checking something off their timeline. I want you to check with yourself too, right? Like it's really about getting to know somebody else. And so some people are just interested in the idea of you, the role you could play, the space you could fill in their life. And there's nothing wrong with taking the time to figure out which one it is. And I had a client, let's call her Keisha, okay, who told me, "I feel like I'm always having to choose between being true to myself and being someone men will want to be with." And my heart broke for her because I recognized that impossible choice. But here's what I told her and what I'm telling you. The right person won't make you choose. The right person will see your thoughtfulness as a gift, not an obstacle. They appreciate that you just don't fall for anyone. They are selective about who gets access to your energy and your heart. And so let me just kind of get into on what moving slowly actually means. So let's get really clear about what moving slowly looks like, because it looks different for everybody. And I think there's some confusion, and I just want us all to be on the same page here. Because moving slowly is not being cold or distant, playing games, or withholding affection as a manipulation. It's not making someone guess how you feel, avoiding all physical connection, being clear about your interest. Okay, moving slowly is taking time to observe consistency over weeks and months, not just days. Building emotional safety before physical intimacy. Paying attention to how someone responds to your boundaries. Making sure you're choosing them, not just responding to being chosen. And also, it's creating space to see who they are when the newness wears off. So let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Instead of texting all day, every day, because that's what they want, you might say, "I love hearing from you, and I also need some space in my day to focus on other things." So let's find a rhythm that works for both of us. Instead of seeing each other every night because you're eager, you might say, "I really enjoy our time together and I'd like to savor it. Let's plan for once or twice a week so I can stay present when we're together." And you have to be honest on what you need. And this is what the whole dating experience is about. Before it would be just being about seeing someone to make sure it stayed connection. But now it's in a space where I know I need some days to be able to regroup and recharge, and really just thinking about for you and what that's needed. And just what's needed for yourself. And so instead of sharing your deepest traumas on a third date because they shared theirs, you might say, "I appreciate you trusting me with that. I'd like to build trust gradually, so I'm going to take my time opening up about more vulnerable experiences." And here's the thing about moving slowly. It creates space for you to notice things you can't see when you're caught up in the intensity of new connection. So you get to observe, are they consistent when they're not trying to impress you? How do they handle disappointment? Do they respect your time and energy? Are they genuinely curious about your inner world, or are they more focused on how you make them feel? These are the things that determine whether someone is worth your investment, and you can't assess them in the first few weeks when everyone's on their best behavior. So I want to be able to give you the scripts that you need, because we really need to get into the practical stuff, because I know you need the actual words to use in these moments. And listen, I'm going to give you these scripts, but remember, your tone matters just as much as your words. You're not apologizing for your needs. You're not informing someone about how you operate. Okay. So when someone wants to see you more than feels comfortable, and make sure to take notes on these if you're someone that needs it, because it's going to really be handy. Just kind of give you some words and some inspiration on what you can use, or you can use this verbatim as you choose. So when someone wants to see you more than feels comfortable, you can say something like, I really like spending time with you, and I'm someone who likes to build anticipation and maintain balance in my life. Once a week, twice a week feels good to me right now because it lets me miss you and stay excited about our time together. How does that feel for you? So now when they're pushing for physical intimacy, right? Because of course my motto is not until you are in a committed relationship, because it helps you get to be more in to see how they match you emotionally before getting physical, but to each his own on when they decide to do this, right? But you could say something like, I want you to know I'm attracted to you. That's not in question. But I'm also someone who moves at my own pace with physical intimacy, because that's how I stay connected to what feels right for me. So I hope you can respect that process, and I hope it doesn't feel personal, because it's not about you. It's about how I honor my own boundaries, right? So you really want to let the person know on just what feels right for you and what doesn't within this space. And you can also, when it comes to when they wanted to have the talk about where things are going, right? Because a lot of that time that happens, and everyone just check in on how you feel after you leave someone, or after a date, or when you have an experience with somebody. Because when the one have the talk, you can say something like, I appreciate that you want clarity about what we're building, because I want that too eventually. I'm someone who likes to make decisions from a grounded place rather than from excitement or chemistry alone. So can we get this? You can give a specific time frame for this, so within a month or 2 months, whatever feels good for you, to let things develop naturally. I promise I'll check in with you about how I'm feeling along the way, right? So you can be able to giving someone a time frame helps. Doesn't feel like they're just kind of going in thin air, and give yourself a time period of just kind of what is going to help to you make a decision as well. When it's another example, when family or friends question your pace, you could say something like, I know it might seem like I'm taking a long time, but I've learned that when I move slowly, I make better decisions about who I invest in. I'd rather take my time and feel confident than rush and have regrets, right? And then another one is when someone gets impatient or frustrated. You can see, and I want you to begin to really pay attention to how you feel when around that person. You can say something like, I can sense this pace might be frustrating for you, and I want to be completely honest. I don't make decisions about relationships quickly. This isn't about you not being good enough. This is about me protecting my energy and making sure I'm choosing from a clear place. If this time doesn't work for you, I understand, but I'm not going to change my process. And here's one that might feel scary, but is very important. So when someone accuses you of leading them on, you could say something like, I understand you might feel that way, and I want to clarify something. I've been honest about my interest in getting to know you, and I've also been honest about needing time to make decisions about relationships. These two things aren't contradictory, right? I'm not leading you on, I'm being thoughtful. But also see on how you're honoring exactly how you feel. So notice how none of these scripts include apologies for your needs or explanations that justify your boundaries. You're simply just stating your truth, your authenticity, like what we really talk about here, and giving them the information they need to decide if they can work with your pace. And pay a close attention to how they respond, because that response is going to tell you everything you need to know about their character and their readiness for real love. Okay? And so next I want to get into just reading the signs, green flags versus red flags. Because let's talk about what to look for in their response, because this is where you get to see who you're really dealing with. So make sure to take notes on this. Red flags that should have you reconsidering on whether you want to talk with this person. When they try to convince you that your pace is unreasonable or too slow. When they make you feel guilty about saying things like, if you really cared about me, you would. when they compare you to other women who moved faster, when they withdraw attention or become cold when you maintain your boundaries, when they try to negotiate your timeline like it's a business deal, when they try to make your boundaries about them. Are you not attracted to me? Do you not trust me? These are red flags, and red flags are stop signals. They're not warning signals. Okay. And so next we're going to go into the green flags that show you someone worth your time. They appreciate that you're intentional about relationships. They use their slower pace as an opportunity to get to know you better too. They also respect your boundaries without making you feel guilty. They check in about your comfort level without pressuring for more. They also see your selectiveness as a positive quality, not a barrier. They trust your process even when they don't fully understand it. They show up consistent regardless of the pace of just how things are going. And I understand this because even in my own kind of dating experience, when I met my, current person that I'm with, when I mentioned of just, oh, okay, it takes time to get to know someone, or the trust. I mean, it wasn't a fight about it. It was more so of take the time that you need. All I can do is keep showing up and show you that I'm here, I'm consistent, right? And so it depends on how somebody responds to what you share with them matters. Because I also had a client who told me about a man she was dating. When she explained her need to move slowly, said, I appreciate that you don't just fall for anyone. That tells me you're thoughtful about who you let into your life, and that makes me feel special that you're taking time to consider me, right? So really pay attention to both examples that I've given you, because that is a green flag, girl. That's someone who gets it. The right person won't make you feel like your pace is something to overcome. They'll see it as a part of what makes you valuable, your discernment, your intentionality, your self-respect. They are going to love that about you. And so a lot of times we don't talk about the real world application when it comes to this. So I want to kind of get into that. Like, what can you do actually happen? What can you actually do in your life right now? Right? So before you start dating, I want you to get clear on your timeline. What feels comfortable for you? How often do you want to see someone new? What does building trust look like for you? Write this down so you're not making decisions in the moment based on pressure or excitement. During early dating, check in with yourself regularly. Ask, am I moving at my pace or theirs? Do I feel peaceful about this timeline, or am I anxious about trying to keep up? When pressure comes up, remember that pressure to move faster usually comes from one of two places: their own anxiety about losing you, or their impatience with building something real. Neither of those are your responsibility to manage. Next, I want you to trust your body. If something feels rushed, it probably is. If you feel like you're performing or keeping up rather than naturally unfolding, that's information. So practice saying no to extra dates when you need space, to deeper conversations when you're not ready, to physical intimacy before you feel safe. Your no is sacred, and it's protecting your yes for what's truly right for you. So understand, beautiful, that I want you to leave you with this. Your pace is not a flaw to fix, it's a wisdom to honor. In a culture that profits for just our impatience and insecurity, choosing to move slowly is a radical act of self-love. It's you saying, my heart is valuable, and I'm going to be thoughtful about who gets access to it. The right person, the person who's truly ready for what you offer, won't rush you. They won't make you feel guilty for having a process. They'll appreciate that you're intentional about love, because that means you do choose them. It will be a real choice, not just a reaction. Before I go, I want you to ask yourself, what would change if I truly believe that my pace is perfectly exactly as it is? What would I do differently if I trusted that the right love will meet me where I am? If this episode helps you honor your own timeline, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not behind, you're not too slow, and you're not missing out on anything that's meant for you. The love that's for you will appreciate your thoughtfulness, not rush you past it. I love you, I see you, and I'll talk to you next week.